We've got some theist callers we can try on. Anthony, pronouns he, him, is calling from my home state of Missouri. How you doing, Anthony? You're on with Owen and Matt.
Hi, Matt. Hi, Owen. I'm doing good. Thanks.
Hey.
How are you doing?
Doing well.
I'm all right.
So what's up?
It says here that you say the cosmological argument leads to faith. And just out of curiosity, are you saying that it leads to a belief that you call a faith, or leads to faith as in the justification?
The justification for belief in something that you can label as God. A justification for belief, I guess, is how I'd say that.
So if you have an argument that's backed by evidence, what would you need faith for?
Because God himself, the metaphysical itself, I don't believe is demonstrable or verifiable in a scientific way. So there's evidence or reason that would lead to the belief in something that you can't demonstrate physically.
Oh, no. Why would we?
No? Okay.
So if God exists, wouldn't that be a big deal?
Absolutely.
Are there things that we are unable to demonstrate, but we kind of assume are true?
Absolutely.
Cool.
Like logic.
Is that
and math?
Is
But-
it better? Is it better to assume something's true when you can't demonstrate it, or is it better for there to be a demonstration?
Obviously, the demonstration, but I
Cool.
think the difference between
So
physical. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Okay.
So demonstration would be better. Why won't God
Yeah.
demonstrate his existence?
I don't know. That's
Okay.
not really what I called about. But I could say
Well-
that I think and I believe that all through the Old Testament, God said, "I'm doing this so that you can know." So I think he did
Anthony?
demonstrate it at certain. Yes.
Would we agree that you don't get to assume the Bible is true, and you don't get to assume that God said something? Because if the point is you're trying to determine if there's a God, you can't say God said this, because if God said something, that would be demonstrable. And instead, you believe that God said something, but you can't demonstrate that
Correct.
God said something.
Correct. I was trying to communicate that I believe that God does. He does give causes to believe. He did that
Why?
through physical. Well, I think that what has been. Well, it goes back to the Kalam Cosmological Argument.
But
as
Anthony,
a foundation. Yeah.
Anthony, the Kalam Cosmological Argument does not include God in either the premises or the conclusion.
That's correct.
And so the Kalam Cosmological Argument is not in any way an argument for the existence of God. Its conclusion is, therefore, the universe has a cause. You must then, after the Kalam, add things in order to get to God. So if we just agreed, we don't agree. We don't agree because the Kalam Cosmological Argument is flawed in both premises. But even if I agreed with you that the universe must have had a cause, that doesn't prove a God. It doesn't even point to a God.
Right.
So how are you getting to a God and then saying God said stuff in the Bible?
Okay. Well, I get to a God because the way that I understand the cosmological argument is that if the universe had a beginning, it had a cause. And I define the universe as space and matter. So if the universe...
That's how you define the universe, you say?
I'm sorry?
You say that you define the universe as space and matter, right?
That's right.
Okay. But I don't even understand why that's relevant. What difference? Hang on, Anthony. Let me finish the question. You said the way you understand the Kalam is that the universe had a beginning. And then you said, I define the universe as space and matter. How you define the universe is irrelevant. We've already reached the point where you've concluded that the universe has a cause. How you define universe isn't relevant at this point if you've already assumed that it had a cause. Space and matter had a cause. Cool. Go ahead.
Well, I want to get to the conclusion, but I can't. If we're going to get hung up on the definition of the universe, the definition of the word is absolutely important.
We aren't, Anthony. None of us were hung up on the definition of the universe. You offered definition of the universe out of the blue, apropos of absolutely nothing. So don't blame us.
Okay. Well, the reasoning goes like this: if material, and that's space and matter, had a beginning, the only logical conclusion is the cause has to be immaterial.
Yeah, the problem is I'm not convinced that the universe had a beginning.
Okay, well then, that's fine, and we can discuss that. That's where it always goes. But what is established is if there was a beginning to material, it was an immaterial cause by almost by definition.
No.
Why not?
We only have the ability to investigate this one universe, right?
I don't know by what you mean this one universe. I don't that doesn't make sense to me.
Okay.
What do you mean by this?
Have you heard of the multiverse?
I've heard of that, but I don't have any evidence for that's existence.
I don't either, and I didn't say there was. Instead of answering the question you fucking think I'm asking, why not answer the question I'm actually asking? It goes so much easier. So, have you heard of the multiverse?
Yes, I've heard of it.
Cool, me too. I'm not convinced that the multiverse is actually real. I have no way of demonstrating it. I have no way of testing it. But at least the proposed multiverse would suggest that what we call the local presentation of our universe, that there may in fact be other universes. And so this model exists out there, but is, as far as I can tell, untestable and unfalsifiable as it stands right now. Are we at least in agreement there?
Sure.
Okay. So when I said, is this the only universe we can explore? Do you know of any other universe we can explore?
I do not.
So the answer to the question, is this the only universe we can explore, is apparently yes, right?
Okay, I would accept that.
Okay.
Yes.
We also cannot investigate this universe, even speculatively, mathematically, further back than immediately following the beginning of the expansion. One Planck time out from the beginning of the expansion, according to Big Bang cosmology, is as far back as the math goes before it breaks down. Are we in agreement there?
I'll accept that. I'm not well read on that, but I've heard that, so I'll agree with it for now.
Okay. I don't even know whether or not you accept Big Bang cosmology. That's not even really relevant. I'm just saying that given the scientific model that we currently look at as Big Bang cosmology, we have no way of investigating other universes, and we have no way of investigating the origin of this universe. And so the Big Bang model doesn't say that matter began to exist. It said that a singularity consisting of what would be identified as space and matter, it began to expand.
Okay.
If that model is correct, then the stuff that makes up our universe it may or may not have had a beginning, but the fact that the local presentation of our universe, the expansion, had a beginning doesn't mean the stuff had a beginning. Are we in agreement there?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
So the Big Bang model has a singularity. It's just a mathematical construct that represents matter and energy in its incredibly dense state. At some point, it begins to expand. We can't get back to the moment that the expansion began, but when we describe the beginning of the universe, we can only go back to the Planck time. So we're only talking about the expansion of matter. The Big Bang cosmology does not say that the matter didn't exist prior to that in some form.
Okay, that may be the case.
Yeah. So the Kalam Cosmological Argument begins with premise 1. Everything that begins to exist has a cause for its existence. In the Big Bang cosmology, what began to exist is the local presentation of our universe, the expanded universe, but not necessarily matter and energy. That may have already existed in some form. So the first premise of the Kalam does not necessarily apply to this universe. Sorry. Let me retract that. It's the second premise where it says the universe began to exist. That may not apply to the universe in the way that the Kalam wants to use it. The first premise, which says that everything begins to exist, has a cause for its existence. Do you know why that first premise says begins to exist?
No.
Cool. It's easy because the old versions of the argument used to say everything has a cause. And then somebody said, what about God? God doesn't have a cause. And they're like, yeah, okay. So we'll just say, since God has always existed, we'll just go with everything that begins to exist. And then therefore the universe began to exist. Therefore the universe had a cause. So the first premise was modified to exempt an uncaused eternal God. How can you show, or how can anybody show that the substance that expanded in our local universe didn't always exist?
That would be the next logical point to discuss. If the matter that expanded, causing our current universe, did always exist, then essentially you're arguing for the eternal, infinite, prior existence of matter.
No.
And to me,
and this is why I use the word substance and not matter. We can't investigate what the original state was, but the Big Bang cosmological model has a singularity. It may not be matter as it became when it expanded, but it's whatever resulted in the matter. So I didn't say matter. I went with singularity substance. And so I'm saying, how can you show that the singularity substance did not always exist? How do you show it had a beginning?
Well, I'm confused between matter and substance. Can you be more clear on the difference between that? Because as I just explained, we have no way to investigate what form it was in prior to the Planck time. But it may not be the singularity is a mathematical construct of all the matter and energy essentially that exists in the universe condensed down to a single point. But we don't have any way to explore it or define what it is or whether or not it should count as matter. So I'm referring to it as the singularity substance, which upon expansion, we identify as matter in space-time. Did you just say you defined the singularity as matter through a mathematical equation? No? Okay, I thought that's what you said.
The singularity is the mathematical conclusion that is reached when you take all of the matter and energy and condense it down. Whether or not it counts as matter and energy then or not, we don't know because we have no way to investigate it beyond the Planck time. So it may be matter, it may not be. It may have had a beginning, it may not. My question for the third or fourth time is, how can you show that substance prior to the Planck time, whether you count it as matter or not, didn't always exist?
Okay. I'll answer that, but you're not going to accept it because you're not going to accept it, the definition of that as matter. You're going to say it's substance. I think that whatever you want to call it, I'm going to call it matter, because if it's not matter, it's something that's incoherent to me. It cannot exist because problem of infinite regress.
No, sir. So the Big Bang cosmological model has the expansion of space beginning and time beginning. And so it doesn't make sense to talk about time prior to the Big Bang. But I also acknowledge that we don't know what the substance was. Maybe it wasn't what we would identify as matter and it became matter. But even if you called it matter, you don't then get to argue from a philosophical perspective about a problem with an infinite regress, because that breaks down when time breaks down, which is what happens at the Planck time.
Well, I'm just gonna disagree with you that if you're gonna say that
you can disagree all
matter,
you want, but the question that I asked you was, how can you show that the matter or substance or whatever you want to call it prior to the Planck time did not always exist in some form?
Because time does exist when there's matter, and you can't have an infinite regress when there's matter.
No, I'm sorry, but you're wrong. The Big Bang cosmological model, which is what we're talking about, has time beginning, and it doesn't make sense to talk about before the Big Bang. And an infinite regress is not an actual. Okay, go ahead. You just talk, Anthony. I'm done.
It makes sense to talk about before the Big Bang if matter exists.
No, it doesn't. Okay, Anthony, demonstrate that matter requires time.
Matter is a product of time. So they're interwoven. If matter exists, time exists. And I don't know what you're talking about, substance. That's synonymous with matter.
So you admit you don't know what I'm talking about. You don't grasp this, and now you're making assertions that time exists because of matter.
I'm absolutely asserting that your idea of substance that's not material is incoherent. Yes.
Didn't I fucking acknowledge, Anthony, that I was picking a word to describe something that we do not have the ability to identify or investigate? Did I say that?
You might have, and that's
yeah,
fine,
I did.
You did.
And when you call it incoherent, you are acknowledging my point that whatever it was prior to the expansion, whether it was matter or not, we don't know, right?
No, it's got to be either matter or nothing. It can't be anything else.
But do you know which one it was?
Well, if it was nothing, then matter had a beginning.
No, I said what it was prior to us calling it matter. Whether it was matter or not, the issue was, how do you demonstrate that it didn't always exist? And you then made assertions about time coming from matter, which you haven't established and which isn't part of the model, because the model has time beginning at the expansion point. Hello?
Did we lose him?
No,
it shows
I'm here.
That he's still there.
Oh, okay.
I'm here. I'm contemplating what you're saying, because
okay,
I don't know if I don't know. Nobody knows what happened before the expansion.
Thank you.
There has to have been.
Thank you.
But there has
then
to,
stop making claims about what happened before the expansion. Thank you for acknowledging what I've been saying the whole time, which is that we don't know. And yet for your argument to work, you have to know.
No, you don't.
Yes, you fucking do. You don't get to talk about whether or not it had a beginning if you don't know what it was or how to demonstrate whether or not it had a beginning.
Does the Kalam or does the argument demand that I know, or is there a conditional if before that statement? Premise number one.
Oh my God. First of all, it is not a conditional if. Premises are assertions. They are propositions, not questions. This is propositional logic. The Kalam cosmological argument goes, whatever began to exist had a cause for its existence, Premise 2, the universe began to exist. Conclusion, therefore, the universe had a cause for its existence. It does not.
Okay.
So what you're doing is you're making claims.
You're right.
You are stop talking. You are simultaneously suggesting that you know what happened before the Big Bang, even though that's an incomprehensible, incoherent thought, and that you don't need to know what happened before the Big Bang, even though you're making claims about it.
You still with us?
Yep.
I'm still with you.
So, how do you show that matter had a beginning?
I'm going to rely on the idea that if matter has always existed, then you fall into the problem of infinite regress.
Okay, then we're done, Anthony. I don't have anything more to add.
Okay.
Owen, have you got stuff for this?
No, I think you're absolutely on point here. None of us are physicists, so we largely have to rely on what the physics community consensus is, if you will. And pretty much everything that you're saying right now conflicts with that. Now, if you want to say, you found this secret thing or whatever that, physics are wrong or whatever, that's okay, but nobody has any reason to buy any of that. So that's what I've got.
Well, it sounds like that none of us know what happened, and therefore,
no, but we have some ideas about things. Like, we're not completely in the dark, and the things that you're saying are contrary to the ideas and understandings that we have as a species about, like, the beginning of time and things like that. So we aren't completely in the dark.
I thought I had heard Matt say that time is not really interwoven with matter, and
I have no idea.
I think that if
Nope.
I'm sorry,
the number of things you thought you heard because you did not pay attention and then got wrong is staggering. You asserted that time is caused by matter. All I said was I don't have any reason to think that that's necessarily true, nor is it relevant. The Big Bang cosmology has time beginning at the expansion, at the singularity event. Right?
I'll agree with that.
Okay. So what you need to do is, if you think you've come up with a way to find out what happened prior to the Planck time, go talk to the scientific community. You're in the same boat that Steve is. Steve thinks that he's going to show everybody that there was a local flood that was interpreted as a global flood, and that he's found problems with science related to the trees, but he doesn't go do the work. In this case, Big Bang cosmology has space and time, time begins, the universe expands, and we can only explore from the Planck time after the expansion began forward. It's the infinitesimally small thing. But what we can't do is say what happened prior to that. And it's also absurd because you're saying what happened before time. And nothing could have happened before time. And so if time began at the moment of expansion, then there is absolutely no point in time at which the singularity didn't exist.
The nonsensical statement, right, before time. I said it earlier, and I was thinking that when I said it. It's not something that we should ever say, actually, because, there's nothing before.
Well, but our language is restricted to that, so I understand why that's absurd, but why we talk like that. But what you're trying to communicate is there's a possibility before time, some substance, which I'm calling matter, exists, but we don't know what state it exists in or what's going on, or even for how long. We can't even say for how long because you're saying time doesn't exist.
Nope. So I'm not saying no, Anthony, this is the fucking problem here. You're shifting the burden of proof again and misunderstanding what I said. I did not say that was the case. I asked you how you could show that it's not the case, because your argument is conditioned on it not being the case.
And so I said it's either matter or not. And you, if I'm not mistaken, you said that if it's matter, I asserted that it's matter or it's not matter, because I don't know of any other possibility.
Matter.
And if
it doesn't
if
matter.
it's matter,
It doesn't
and
matter.
if it is matter,
It doesn't matter.
it doesn't.
Your Kalam cosmological argument is contingent on the notion that the universe had a beginning, and you want to define the universe as space and matter. However, the way the Big Bang model describes the universe is that whatever we're talking about as space and matter expanded, and what it was prior to the expansion, whether you want to call it matter or not, we don't know if it had existed there forever, if it had existed there for any amount of time, if that statement is even coherent to talk about it with regard to that. But your model says that it must not have existed at all prior to the expansion in any form. And if your model is contingent on that substance, which I use as a placeholder for recognizing that we don't know what it was, we'll go ahead, for the sake of your inability to understand a fucking substitute word, call it matter. If your model is contingent on matter coming into existence, you have to show that it didn't always exist. And you can't do that, or you haven't done it. Go take a physics class. Call Aaron Adair when he's on. He'll explain it.
Well, I understand. I understand what you're saying. Let's call it whatever it is.
I got $1,000 says you don't.
We just move, instead of talking about the universe, the same logic applies to whatever that is, whether it's matter, a substance, or something, but it's not nothing.
My model, what difference does it make if it's nothing? Your model is the one that holds, your model is the one that says whatever it was, it had a beginning. What was it before the beginning?
It was God. It was the immaterial cause for material things.
You're muted, Owen. I'm sorry. I couldn't even see you talking. I would have shut up an hour ago, but I saw somebody else say you were muted.
Oh, I'm muted. No, you're good. No, I was going to say, wow, we're taking some large leaps here. I wonder how long I was muted. Not too long, I hope.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, yeah, taking some large leaps. Also, matter and antimatter are two different types of substances. It's not just matter that we're dealing with in the universe, but okay. I'm not muted now, right?
Nope, I heard you.
Okay.
No.
So here's the thing, Anthony. The premises that you're giving us, we know enough about physics to know that your conclusion is incorrect. We don't know everything about it, but we have no reason to reach that conclusion. That being said, we aren't physicists. Matt and I aren't. Aaron Adair is, as he mentioned. Could talk to him. But I'm very confident in saying that this is, this violates what we understand of physics.
Well, I think that Matt had said that we don't know. And so how can it violate what we don't know?
We don't. You're asserting things that we don't or can't know. And a lot of the ideas that you've presented are just kind of non sequiturs, like nonsensical, don't lead us to any correct conclusions. We have no way of reaching those correct conclusions. So either way.
But the logic still exists if something began to exist, whether we know it existed or not.
That logic
must have had a...
You haven't shown that something began to exist.
Right. And that logic exists in this universe in this, like in our understanding of everything, aside from all of that?
The way that my thinking goes is that if matter exists, it had an immaterial cause, and if
that's something you need to demonstrate.
There's no reason to think that.
The logic is there. I don't need to
demonstrate. No, there's no fucking logic for There is no fucking logic. Stop talking about logic. You don't fucking know what you're talking about. Logic isn't a thing that exists. Logic isn't, oh, this is logic. This is the right logic. You are asserting something and you need to demonstrate it. Otherwise, your argument is useless, completely useless, until you actually demonstrate what you're claiming. Can you do that?
I said from the beginning of the conversation, you can't demonstrate metaphysical things. You can't demonstrate origin.
Goodbye, Anthony. Goodbye. This is a monumental. I'm so sick of the dishonesty.
It's not. I'm not dishonest.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are absolutely dishonest, because I'm asking you if you can shut your fucking mouth. Shut up.
You want to wiggle out of it?
Shut up.
Not matter.
I'm not wiggling out of anything. I'm going to mute you and you're going to sit there. I'm asking you if you can demonstrate that it had a beginning. And you asserted that if it had a beginning, it must have been supernatural. And I said, you have to demonstrate that, not assert it. And you went to, you can't demonstrate metaphysical things. So therefore, you're admitting that you are asserting something that you cannot demonstrate. My model doesn't assert anything that I can't demonstrate. Yours does. That's what makes yours inferior. I'm not wiggling out of anything. Put up or shut up and prove your point.
Am I still on?
Yeah.
Okay, I heard some beeps. I thought you guys cut me off.
I muted you and then I unmuted you.
You're here.
So
okay,
demonstrate your thing.
My demonstration is simply reason. If matter began, it had an immaterial cause.
Goodbye.
I think that is reasonable.
Goodbye.
And you can't tell me how it's not.
I absolutely did tell you multiple times how it's not reasonable. You can't demonstrate that matter had a beginning. And even if matter had a beginning, you can't demonstrate what beginning it had. That makes it unreasonable, sir.
Why do I have to demonstrate it?
Thank you. Thank you for acknowledging that you don't have the first fucking clue what makes something reasonable or not. What makes it reasonable is demonstrations, not assertions. No, there is no or. Demonstrations, not assertions about what you're convinced of or not convinced of. If matter had a beginning, it's not my fault. It's not my fucking, shut your mouth.
How can I demonstrate the beginning of matter?
That's not my fucking problem. I'm not the one asserting things I can't demonstrate. Don't assert shit you can't demonstrate, and then you stop talking.
It is possible, FYI, to do things like that.
Jesus fucking Christ, Anthony. You call in and assert things that you can't demonstrate. And when I point out you can't demonstrate them, you're like, how can I demonstrate them? I don't know. But you know what I do that's different? I don't make assertions I can't fucking demonstrate. Because that is the determination of reasonableness. If you want to call in and defend something, that's great. But you don't get to claim you're reasonable while saying you can't demonstrate it, and that's not your problem. I'm not making claims that can't be demonstrated.
It is possible to demonstrate things like that. I mean, not that specific thing, but there are all kinds of different ways that we can do mathematical calculations. And, you know, for example, we validated general relativity like 16,000 different times through things like using a gigantic laser with mirrors to detect gravitational waves. Like, we don't have to detect matter or look back in time or any of that stuff. Like, there are ways to demonstrate these things. It isn't based solely on reason. It doesn't have to be, is what I mean. And also, the reason doesn't make any sense anyway.
I
still
think,
with us?
I'm still with you. I think that you guys have thought about this a long time and have learned, just kind of like how we changed the premise number one to all things instead of everything. I think you want to to zero in on the condition of what this matter or substance is, and we just don't know what happened before the expansion to get away from the infinite regress. That's my thinking.
Yeah, that's called a big old fucking dose of copium.
Whatever that means.
You're saying that you think that we are doing that to deal with whatever? That's okay.
You're not accepting you're wanting me to demonstrate that matter had a beginning. And so when I appeal to the
okay. Right, here, I'm sorry. Let me just try to reframe this, okay? What you presented us with is a thought experiment that has no floor, no bottom. Like, we have no reason to jump to any of these conclusions. It's possible, I suppose, maybe, but there is no reason to go where you went. Now, if you want us to have a reason to stick with you through that logical process, you have to give me something, anything. Give me some kind of, a mathematical equation that can kind of back up your premises here. Right now, it's built on air. Okay, I'm saying I'm saying that there's a pink dragon in my living room, and he disappears when he steps into a portal, and that's why you can't find him. Now, we can put like flour on the floor so that we can see his prints or whatever, but you can say, well, he floats. Like, there are a billion logical jumps that we can take through different hoops to arrive at the conclusion that there really is a pink dragon in my living room, but we need a demonstration. I haven't disproven that there's a dragon, and I haven't proven it, but we need something to follow along with this logical process, and we have nothing right now. So I'm not asking you to demonstrate that like matter began to exist or whatever other thing. I'm asking for literally anything that can back up what you're saying. I will take anything. Right now, there's nothing.
Okay, I tried to communicate that before the Big Bang, it was matter. If it wasn't matter, then you're saying it was something.
That's the stuff that we know very little about, that we need. Okay. Like,
so the point. So I'm sorry. Here's my point with that. I don't mean to interrupt you. I try to be quiet when you talk. But so when I offer the matter can't have always existed because of this infinite regress, I get told that's my demonstration. If you want a demonstration, that's what demonstrates that.
That's not a demonstration.
Logical concept. Well, I understand that, but that's the only thing. I think even if it's not a demonstration, it's still reasonable to think something we can't reach today if there was an infinite past. And so that's my reason for why matter had to begin.
Demonstrate,
but you're saying I can't demonstrate it. And not only can I not demonstrate that, matter didn't even exist before the Big Bang.
We're not making claims about before the Big Bang.
And you're calling that a substance.
You're the one that's making claims you can't defend, not us.
No, I've defended my claim. I've defended my.
No, you haven't. No, you haven't.
I have to. You're wanting to say that matter. We don't know if matter existed or not because it's a substance, and so therefore
we don't know.
It's outside of time, and therefore it can't.
I didn't say it was outside of time. This is it. You keep asserting that I said things that I didn't fucking say, and you're the one asserting shit that you refuse to fucking defend or say that you can't. I don't care whether you can or not. If you can't, you don't get to use it. You don't get to say, here's what it must be, if you have no way of demonstrating that that is in fact what it must be.
So you disagree with the idea of infinite regress?
Right. I feel like we've kind of given you like a list of things that it would take to kind of bring us down the path with you, and you keep jumping back to the same retorts that we explained why they don't make sense. But I don't know. Like, I don't know how to kind of like clarify it, any more than that.
I don't think you're accurately defending that matter didn't always exist, or
because we don't have to. That's because we don't have to. That is shifting the burden of proof. We don't have to prove that matter always exists. You have to prove that it couldn't. And if you can't do that, then the right answer is, I don't know, which is what my fucking answer is. You're the one claiming to know. Do it. Stop shifting the burden of proof.
No, I gave you the evidence, and you're redefining words made out of the evidence.
No, sir, you didn't give any fucking evidence for anything. You asserted a philosophical, hypothetical problem about an infinite regress that is completely irrelevant if the substance that became the expanded universe always existed. How do you explain an infinite regress problem with a God?
Because he's outside of time, and I'm glad you thought about that.
Go away.
Because the dragon can jump through a portal. Let's play the game. So tell me more about this, and I'll just apply it to another ridiculous scenario that has absolutely no demonstration behind it, no reason to think it at all. Go ahead. So you said God is outside space and time. I have a pink dragon. He's also outside space and time right now. Go on.
As Matt argued, and used the logical
name again.
He reasoned that if the substance, which isn't matter, is substance and not matter, then it's outside of time and not subject to infinite regress. Go back and rewind the video. It's exactly what he said.
I didn't.
That's the argument.
That's the
argument for God.
No, I'm muting you. I'm going to mute you, and I'm going to unmute you in a second, right after I clear this shit up. You clearly do not understand my position, and you keep misrepresenting it. You keep shifting the burden of proof. Do not mention my fucking name again. Keep my name out of your mouth, and keep what you think my statements are out of your fucking mouth, because you can't get them right. And so if you'd like to engage with Owen in a reasonable conversation and keep me the fuck out of it, get my goddamn name and what you think I said that I didn't fucking say out of your fucking mouth. Are we clear?
Look, okay, I think is he unmuted now? He is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I here's what I think is happening. You came in with a set of premises and a conclusion that you presented us, and you got locked into the same responses that don't even apply to the things that we're saying anymore. Like they have nothing to do with anything at all anymore. You just keep jumping back to that.
You have indeed done that. Yes, for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like you're gonna have to demonstrate it for us. That's it. We have no reason to believe it. Just like I have no reason to believe there's a pink dragon in my living room.
Okay, I think that's different, but we disagree. I appreciate your time. We're going around in circles.
Wait, hold on. One more thing. One more question. Give you 30 more seconds. How is that different? How is a pink dragon in my living room different from God? In your concept of it existing outside of time and everything else, how are the two things different?
Well, the way you said there's a pink dragon in your living room seems to be demonstrable, and God,
he's invisible.
The metaphysics of God is not. Well, then, because I'm inferring a God from premises that lead to an immaterial cause. So if that immaterial cause, I'll give you this: the immaterial cause could be that pink dragon or whatever, but you still can infer the pink dragon.
Okay. I'll tell you what. What you're telling me.
It could be anything as long as it's an immaterial cause.
Let me just explain what happened.
So the way you redefine your pink dragon as being intangible, that works. If you want to believe that a pink dragon, whatever, was the cause of matter.
Let me explain what happened. I'll draw this out. I just used a pink dragon as a ridiculous metaphor to show how absolutely absurd your conclusion is and how completely unprovable it is. And you embraced it rather than recognizing the absurdity.
Well, I don't define the immaterial cause as having a color or resembling a dragon. So I think, if you want to, you can certainly think that, but I have no reason to believe that. I would not believe that. So yeah, okay. I understand your point, but it doesn't make the point that you think it does.
You just said that you inferred the existence of this thing. So
of an immaterial cause.
I wonder, Owen, is there any reason to prefer the invisible dragon over what his preferred cause is?
I think I could logic my way into it. I'm sorry, man. I can't.
Wow, that was a great clip we just watched. Hey, Eve, what should the people do now?
Leave a comment, click like, subscribe, patreon.com/ does that say call the line?
Yeah. But if you could have made, we could just make it a little more natural. On the next clip, the outro will be much better.